Today's Wasteland Spotlight takes us only a few dozen yards off the heavily traveled desert Interstate 15, which is the main highway between Southern California and Nevada. At a point called Halloran Summit, we find the ruins of the tiny truck stop known only as Hilltop Mart. Halloran Summit seems like the perfect place for a convenience store, gas station, bathroom break spot. Out in the middle of nowhere with no other place to stop for miles, it was once a very busy place. For almost everyone who knows of it, it remains a mystery as to why it suddenly closed up for good. Not only was that a long time ago, but the events were actually swept under the rug a bit. The closure and abandonment came as the cost of a dark and twisted secret that this place hid behind its walls for so long. Very few people know the grim truth behind what happened to the Hilltop Mart and its accompanying mini-motel. Most people just assume that it eventually closed and no new buyer ever gave it a chance, leaving entropy to do its work. Such is the usual pattern of the wasteland. But that was not the pattern here. Just like how nobody wants to buy a home where the previous owners were butchered in their beds, there has yet to be a buyer brave enough or foolish enough to take ownership of this place with its morbid past. A past I'm going to expose for you today. Make no mistake, this place is unclean, and soon you'll see why. Welcome to the Wasteland, my friends. Vandals, scavengers, and the blasting winds and scorching sun of Mother Nature. Thus began the gradual decline into ruin for the Hilltop Mart. Often, for those of us down the road of time a bit, such ruins can seem very nostalgic and fascinating, but as we all know, sometimes those ruins are simply the last tattered remnant of a dark and secret past. Such is the case with the Hilltop Mart. The disturbing history of this place is a closely held secret known mostly by those old, retired law enforcement types who were the participants in its downfall. One way you can tell a tourist from a real desert dweller here is that the former knows only the surface history of a place, but the latter, they know where the bodies are buried. And today, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you something no one else has. Physically, Hilltop Mart doesn't seem much different from the many other such dried out and decaying places along these dusty southern highways. What's left today, to me at least, is a fascinating place to poke around in. Anything of value, monetary or evidentiary, has long since disappeared, but that's fine. What's left now is a very interesting stop along a very busy road filled with unique exploration opportunities. While many probably see this abandoned location as nothing but a disgraceful eyesore along the highway, there are those who find such places captivating in a melancholy, fallout kind of way. You could easily change the name up on the sign to say Red Rocket and it would fit perfectly. As most of you out there already know, I find a rather haunting beauty in these abandoned wasteland spots. Sometimes they call up old memories of how things used to be, but often they also give us a glimpse into what the world will look like when civilization disappears. As is often the case, the darkest part of any secret lies just out there, hidden deep in the desert. And I will show you where. But first, let's take a look at what isn't hidden. Not much prepper talk on the project today. This is going to be a short and disturbing spotlight rather than a strictly educational one, but it does hold a few lessons for us. The most important of which is to never judge a book by its cover or an old ruin by the remnants it leaves behind. Every place has a story, and sometimes that story is a dark and disturbing one. It's important to come to know as much of that story as you can for all the places in the world around you. 118 acres for the property, which is your first clue that this place wasn't just a gas station. In fact, it was actually a secret brothel. Yep, you heard that right. Oh sure, it was a gas station and a repair shop and lots of other things as well, but on the side, secret from the world except for those who seek out such dark corners, it was the favorite stop for truckers for another reason. Geckos weren't the only lot lizards around here, if you know what I mean, and still, that wasn't even the darkest secret. But let's explore that a bit as we walk around. Nevada's always had legal brothels going up and down the northern 95 highway, but once on the South California leg of a long trip, the truckers had no legal outlets for their desires. It was only a matter of time until someone fulfilled that need, and the owners of Hilltop Mart had a plan for that. hence the little mini motel at the rear of the property. There used to be a small house as well, the owner's residence, but that collapsed years ago, burned by squatters or vandals. Still, the small multi-room motel has survived somewhat, and that is where the after-dark action of Hilltop Mart took place. We will go there in a bit, but first let's look around the offices, stockroom, and storage areas for the gas station itself. That bathroom has seen better days for sure, but as wasteland ruins go, this is pretty standard condition. Heading to the side, we come into the small stock room for the convenience store, the Mart part of our Hilltop. Out into the main store, we can see that the rear wall was once fully lined with coolers for drinks and snacks. Not much left now. We approach the front counter where normal customers would have been taken care of. And out the front window, we can see one of the old pumps long since stripped. Finally, in the rear here, we have a little office area. Outside there is a smaller, separate building that housed the restrooms for travelers to use. I don't think these restrooms were air-conditioned or even ventilated very well, so I am certain they were quite aromatic back in the day, especially when the temperature was over 100 degrees out. The women's bathroom was painted pink, and even now it's still neater than the men's room next door. Before we go further, I want to head back inside to show you another little clue about this place's history. It's that creepy staircase that we bypassed on the way through. You can see the motel area in the distance here, but first we're going to take one last look at that interesting interior feature. In through what remains of the back door, we can take one more look at the main 3-bay repair shop area before we return to the storage room and the set of stairs that we saw earlier. These stairs are very narrow, and they used to be completely hidden behind a concealed door that has long since been removed. Heading up, we reach a small loft area which had also been partially concealed when this place was still intact. In the fore area, it was simply loft storage, but once upon a time there were two small bedroom type setups here. They weren't exactly used for sleeping, but I'll leave it to your powers of deductive reasoning to figure out what they really were used for. Back down we go, and it's time to head over to the old mini motel in the even darker part of Hilltop Mart's secret. Other YouTube types have shown this location before, and many travelers stop by to take pictures on their way down the highway, thinking it nothing more than a neat old ruin. They have no idea what misery it contained. Let's head over and check it out. Be advised, the video is going to get more uncomfortable from here on out. It was just a small 3-unit motel, but it was never really for rent, except perhaps by the hour. This is where the women lived. Some by choice, perhaps, or lack of choices, I should say. But others were the victims of human trafficking, unwilling participants at the very least, or so the grim story goes. The world has always been hardest on those who have the least capacity for defense. Such things as what went on here, unfortunately, were even more common back in the day than they are now. Tolerated even, as long as the lid was kept on. And what better place to keep a secret than out in the desert? That's why there's so many government bases located out here, from China Lake to Area 51 and the National Security Site where they tested nuclear weapons. Yes, the desert is the best place for hiding your dirt amongst all the other dirt. This first unit still has the remnants of an old TV and tape deck. I think it used to be an office or maybe a kitchen, I'm not quite sure. Coming into the middle section, we can see a couple of old grills which have probably been used by the various squatters and nomads that pass through this area constantly. Pay attention here. You'll see that this room has had the windows boarded up as well as the exterior door, and that is because this is where the children were. The story gets darker the further we get into it, as I said. We can see the old bits and pieces of children's toys amid the rubble. The world's oldest profession was one thing, but there were rumors of other things happening here. I can't fully confirm anything on that front, and neither could the people that I have talked to about this place, but there are rumors. And that brings us to the central room, which once I heard disturbingly called the playroom. The graffiti here tells a story and paints a foul picture. There's a single shared bathroom here for this place, and an old school desk sits out of place here against the wall. Otherwise, the main room holds no real surprises. Time to head out back. The debris of the wasteland seems to be the same everywhere we find it. Old tires, appliances, broken tools, and all the forms of packaging and padding that mankind has ever devised, all strewn haphazardly about. We are leaving the horrors of the old motel behind for now, and perhaps you're thinking that you've seen the worst that this place has to offer. Unfortunately, that's not the case. This here was an old stable building used by the original owners of the Hilltop Mart property for their horses. This place sits on the very edge of the Mojave Desert Preserve, and there are many trails for riding and enjoying the local desert scenery. Not much remains of the stables save a few half doors and the crumbled bits of old straw and hay. You and I both would have hoped that this is where the horrible story of this place ends, but like I said, the real secret that removes all doubt in the mind is out there a ways. This is the point where if you have a weak stomach or simply don't want to see what you don't need to see, you should call it quits on this video. We're not going too far, but the last spot on this journey is out of sight and not known to very many people, so I won't be taking a direct route, nor will I show the exact path. But a final lesson here for my preppers. This is an example of why it is important to learn everything you can about the points of interest in your own area of operations. And one of the absolute best ways to do that is to go out there and talk to the people who live and work out there. Develop relationships with folks such as the BLM and Forestry Department rangers, as well as the local level law enforcement. Without my own such relationships, I wouldn't have had any idea about the secrets this place held. We're here. It's a bit further than I made it look. The exact history here is unknown to me, and I don't think I want to fully know, but I believe that this construction was once part of an old cold food storage room for a mine or homestead, of which there's many nearby. Notice the locks on the outside. Inside, we see it wasn't used for storage. I have no idea what this contraption was on the table over here. I'm just going to let the video document this part and keep comments to myself for now. In some ways, I know we like to think that things were different before, back before the internet made the world a small and open place. But the truth, the real truth, is that the world has always been just as dark and dangerous as it is today. Now we see more and hear more about the things that happen, but that doesn't mean they didn't always happen. The darkness present in men's souls will always be there. It has always been there. If you look at the Bible, you can see that we didn't make it past a population of 4 people before one had to go and murder another one. And in reality, I think that a 25% rate of twisted souls among us is about accurate. Keep that thought in mind when you think about who you trust with your own secrets. Stay safe and stay ready, my friends. It is indeed a wasteland out there.